I want to say welcome to everyone and thank you for joining us today. If you don't know me, I'm Rhonda Rush. I'm the Director of Operations here at Nomerel, and today we're talking about something that happens to businesses every day: losing access to a file or an overwritten document, a SharePoint site that just won't work. Things like that are not really major disasters, but sometimes it's just feels like it is. Maybe you spilled a drink on your keyboard and fried it, or your whole afternoon just goes by the wayside because of something that's happened in your environment. So by the end of this session, you're going to have real practical steps that you can actually use to handle things on your own if you want to, next time something goes wrong. Maybe see if you have the ability, give you the ability to take charge and be as self-sufficient as you want to be so that you can keep on plugging when the times may arise. So let's go ahead and get into it. So picture this. It is Tuesday and someone on your team opens a file and it's gone, or they saved over a version of something from last week, or OneDrive just shows that it's spinning, but it won't sync, or you have the little red X's next to your OneDrive files indicating that it's not synced. SharePoint maybe just won't load. They're not what feel like a real big IT emergency, but sometimes they can just really stop you in your tracks because that's obviously the specific file that you're going to need today for everything that you need to work on. And it's not a rare disaster, but it is something that you could probably take on your own. And it's not some huge happening, it's just Tuesday, right? So today we want to give you some tools that you can use, some knowledge to be able to leave this time together today being able to answer what happens, what do you do when something like this happens to you? So a lot of times we hear, well, we have backups all the time. And backups are great, but having a backup and knowing how to use it are two completely different things. And a lot of times when a company is talking about, well, we have backups, they're talking about full databases or full server backups. And those are things that are going to take a long time to restore. But if it's just your individual file or something that you've lost, these are things that are like those little things that may break in the middle of your busy work day, and you just don't know where to look or what you can do to get yourself back on track. The uncertainty can be guesswork, and guesswork turns into time. And along with that, it also turns into a situation where you may make things worse than better because you're frustrated. So those are the things that we want to get ahead of today and get them solved. So before we dive in, we're going to look at these three questions. Do you know how to restore a previous version of a file? Not that it's possible, but do you know where to click and how to access it? What if a document got accidentally deleted right now? Could your team recover it without calling IT? And if SharePoint went down this afternoon, what would you do, or would you know the first steps to take? If any of those make you hesitate, you're not alone. And again, that's what we're here to take care of today. So I don't want to ever discourage somebody from picking up the phone and calling 918-203-7700 and calling the help desk. I'm not telling you not to do that. You can definitely do that and we'll take care of you. If you just don't know where to go, that's your first step. Don't send an email to support, pick up the phone and call. If it's that important, we need to take care of it while you're in the middle of it. So I definitely want to make sure that you do that. But first scenario, a file has been overwritten. So it's one of the most common situations that we see. You go to open a file and you realize this isn't my version. Maybe somebody got in it between the last time you were in it and today, and they saved some changes or overwrote your file. What you had is no longer there, and that's specifically what you needed was the last one. I know for years we were always looking at, okay, if you want to use this letter or this document as a template, we'll put it over here because it's one that we want to save, but you can always copy it and save it with a new name and use it as a template. Great. People forget to do that. So it feels like you've got to start over when somebody has overwritten your original. But the good news is that in the current environment, Microsoft 365 is automatically saving version histories in the background, and you can almost certainly be able to restore that last version or several versions back. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First of all, oh, look what I did. I messed something up over here. So it's out of order. It's crazy. This is going to be like a screenshot that you want to save because it's going to be worth a lot of money someday because it's imperfect. But basically in Word and Excel, PowerPoint, many of the different products that are out there, you are able to recover previous versions. So these are your steps. You're going to want to open the file, click the file, the Word file, and go to Info and then select Version History. Then you're going to go through some of the versions until you find the right one. And then you're going to either restore that one or save it as a new copy. We're going to walk through this together. But before we do, I have a couple of things I want to show you. So these are some screenshots that from my computer. So what would you do, or what would happen if you opened your selected file and found out that autosave is not turned on? So up here in the first screenshot, you can see that autosave is toggled off. Whenever you're creating a new document, from now on, I would make that a habit of turning on autosave unless there's a specific reason why you don't want it on. And then you can turn it off or make sure that it's off. But what happens when I turn it on and then I get this message that pops up and says the file that was created is in an unsupported format. You need to change the format before we can use autosave. This happens in Excel more than anything else, just because the file that I had opened is a .csv, a comma separated value file. Those files are commonly used to import into one of your applications, or you exported out of an application a list of, donors or something of that nature. And so a CSV does not do the autosave. What my system wanted to do is it wanted me to turn it into a .xls so that I could have the autosave turned on. So that's what I did. So I just hit the got it, and it walked me through exactly what I needed to do to get it into a format that could be used for autosave. So now that we know that you can make changes to the formats and things to be able to get that done, let's take a look at our first live demo portion of basically working in Excel and finding the previous file version. So I do want you to know that I am working on a Mac. And so mine is going to be slightly different from yours because my file is up here in the top menu on the left. But all I have to do is click File and go to Browse Version History. Now, this is just a product search file that I had exported from my inventory system. And so I'm going to just go to Browse Version History, and you'll see, just like when we did our Copilot demo last month, it pops up in this menu on the right side of the screen. So this one, I have multiple versions. I can go back to, and I did this one specifically because I changed that to red, but you can go back to a previous version Of course, it popped up on my other screen, so I'm bringing it over here. And this is my very first version that I had. So I have the absolute original of this version out here. If I wanted to restore that and get rid of all of my changes, I could do that just by clicking this restore button. If that's not where I want to go, I just X out of it. It hasn't done anything to my version. My most recent one is still here, but let's look at the next version. So each one of these, I can just click the link and say, open that version. And it's going to keep going to my other screen, but that's just the joys of live demos. But so now you can see that it's rolled back to, it took my formatting, my red font out of that one cell, but pretty much everything else is the same. So I could, if I wanted to restore this, and then I would be working in that one rather than the new one. Hopefully that makes sense. If, I'm just going to X out of this one and this one because I think I'm done.
Yeah. I think I have a question that people may have. Each separate version of the file that it saves, is that updating every single time if you have autosave turned on? Okay.
It is. Yes.
Amazing. I love that.
Funny side note, we have a system on the back end of our customers' systems that's doing a monitoring for any bad actors or anything that's going on. And we actually had to make some adjustments to that system because it saves and uploads these saves so many a day that used to be before autosave. It was like, 30 file downloads a day or 30 file uploads a day. And now after every so many minutes, it's sending one up. So
wow.
People are now having like hundreds of them a day. And so I was getting lots and lots of alerts. And so we made some tweaks on the backside, and because they're not nefarious, they're actually supposed to be happening. And that's the way the system works now. But it's constantly doing those saves. And we can see that happening all across all of our customers.
Amazing. Love that.
Just a fun little side note. Good question though. Thanks. Next, I want to talk about SharePoint. And I kind of flipped it from our initial what we were going to talk about, because I said SharePoint last, but we're going to do SharePoint first because Mark pointed something out to me when I was going over the presentation with him, and that is, do people know how to get to SharePoint? So let's do SharePoint first before we do the things that follow SharePoint. So typically, if you're having issues with SharePoint won't load, you're immediately going to go to something is broken, seriously broken. Follow these steps on the screen. Log out and back in. Try a different browser. The logging in and out will fix a lot of issues, but a different browser could also fix some issues because, your browser, my favorite browser is Chrome. It can have an update today, but my operating system hasn't caught back up to it. So they're not syncing up between Chrome and Microsoft. They're not the same product. So they have to talk to each other. If my Chrome isn't working, then my next favorite is going to be go to Firefox. Windows really loves their own product, which is Edge. So they'll suggest that you try to go log in using Edge. Check your permissions. Did permissions change? Did somebody actually, accidentally take you off of a site that you're supposed to have access to, or vice versa? If you have the direct link to get to your site or your file, go ahead and use that. And check your Microsoft service status. There's this little link here, the aka.ms/status. You can go there and see if Microsoft is experiencing any issues. You can also Google, is Microsoft down today? And there'll be a down detector website that'll pop up that you can look at, and it'll tell you who's reporting Microsoft down. Then the last thing on this list, which I probably should bump up to the very first one, is check your internet connection. Because that's the first thing, it's the last thing I thought of to write down, but it's the first thing that I think of when I'm not able to connect is, okay, is my internet connected? And I always look up to see if I have those little the little Wi-Fi signal turned on or not. If that's not working, try a hotspot. You never know. It could be just be your internet connection, and then you could go back through all of these issues. The logging in and out seems like it's not, oh, that never happens. I hear a lot of people say that. But in today's workforce, we're all extremely mobile. I know in my case, I use a laptop and I can go from my desk being hard connected to the network to shutting down, unplugging, and going out to the conference table. And now I'm on the Wi-Fi. And then I close the laptop and I pick it up and I go upstairs to another conference room for a different meeting. And so now I'm on a different Wi-Fi appliance. Or I may shut it down and actually go to a customer site. And now I'm on on a different network, or I'm using my hotspot. So pretty soon, something's just not going to sync. And basically, my 365 is really tired of having to connect to a new network or a new access point every other time. And you just have to verify your identity with a log out and log back in. So since SharePoint is a browser-based application, you also want to look at that browser. So again, I told you going back and forth with Chrome or trying a different browser, like your second favorite browser, or using Edge, those work really great. So these 6 things have actually resolved a huge majority of SharePoint access issues. And if you don't want to wait for somebody from IT to assist you, jumping in on a couple of different things and trying them out is never a problem. You're never going to hurt anything by doing any of these things. So, does everyone know how to get to their SharePoint? That's what we were talking about just a second ago. For our organization, when everyone joins, we make sure that everybody has a link to their SharePoint saved to their favorites bar. And I make sure that it's up at the very beginning. And this is so that everybody in the organization can get to our main internal SharePoint site, and then you can get to everywhere from there. It's like hitting that map at Silver Dollar City that says you are here. From there, you can see anything else in the park, and you know how to get there because there are paths that will get you there, right?
Love
That's
the
what this
reference.
does.
Love it.
Well, now that you're back in, the local area, we
Yes.
need to make sure you get to some fun places. But yeah, it's the You Are Here map. That's what SharePoint does, and everybody needs to have that access. And to have it at the drop of a hat, just by being able to click that very first favorite button or that second one, it's perfect. So there's that. Take a minute, go to your SharePoint, and open up the documents view, because I'm about to give you a really good, helpful hint. So from here, I'm just going to go to documents. This is an added bonus, you guys, to everything that we've talked about. But I want you to click, when you go there, I want you to click the add a shortcut to OneDrive. And when you do that, you're going to get a little pop-up down here at the bottom of the screen that says, oh, I've added this to your My Documents or to your My Files. And you can click on that and it will take you to your OneDrive. And you'll jump into these files right here in your OneDrive. Well, these are shortcuts to different SharePoint sites that I have access to and different team sites that I have access to. So what I'm seeing here is the same thing that I'm going to see in my File Explorer. If I click that little file folder on your taskbar at the bottom of the screen, for you Windows users, when you open that up, it's like you're using just your regular share folders, right? You can open any folder, you can push it back up to the server or whatever. Now your server happens to be SharePoint. It's in the cloud. It's just not sitting in your office. And the way I know that these are SharePoint folders or that these are being synced and are shortcuts is that little arrow, that up arrow next to those folders on the side. So you can get to it from the browser. You can get to it from your File Explorer. My second helpful hint for this bonus feature today is that when you do save it, you come in here and you click the three dots next to the file, because it's going to come in with the actual file name that it was given in SharePoint. And I rename that, and I go all the way to the beginning of that file, and I either call it SharePoint, or as you can see down here, I have some Teams files that I've shared for easy access and movement so that I don't have to always go out to SharePoint. It's right there on my drive. When I'm done with these things, I can always remove the shortcut from my OneDrive so they're not cluttering things up. But it will always be in SharePoint, or it will always be in Teams. I just have a shortcut here so that I can get to it easier, do my work, and close it up. It's always being saved back on SharePoint. I hope that helps. I know.
Yeah, I think that was really helpful when you shared this tip with me, and especially, I don't know if you want to share this, like the shortcut for Mac users in Finder, adding
Mm,
that to the folder too is like I use that every day.
yeah. And this will do the same thing, because
Yeah.
this is taking it to Finder for Mac users or to File Explorer for PC users, Windows users.
Okay. Yeah.
So the view is the same no matter where you are in the browser. If you, depending on which kind of computer you use, you'll get to it either through Finder or through File Explorer.
Yeah.
So all the same. Good,
Super,
good
super
point though,
helpful.
and good
Yep.
reminder, because not everybody here uses, this is my Mac. So, but I always talk about File Explorer because we have more people that use Windows. Okay, so now that we've done that, hopefully I'm not talking too fast for people, but again, screenshots when you can. We will share the video of this with you, or a link to it on our webpage so that you'll be able to get to it later. And
Yes.
then use them. Use those videos. Go back and set them up side by side with what you're doing on your computer, and watch it, pause it where you want to do something, do it on your machine, play the
Yeah.
video a little bit longer, pause it, do the next thing on your machine. It works beautifully, and I think you'll like it.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions at this point, feel free now or throughout the rest of the presentation to put things in the chat and we'll answer them as we see them.
Yeah, I thought when you said now, and I thought, ooh, she's going to say now or forever hold your peace. No,
No, no, no.
no. We still have people on the phones. I feel like I'm doing a telethon now. You can always call the phone, 918-203-7700. So anyways, just having too much fun here. Next file, our next scenario is a deleted file. The file is gonzo. Either you accidentally deleted it, maybe a sync error, it's just not showing up because of that. Maybe it was removed by mistake. Whatever happened, you open the folder or you try to go to the folder and it's just not there. The first thing to remember is don't panic. It's likely still very recoverable. So these steps will take you to how to do it. You're going to go to your OneDrive online. You're going to open the recycle bin. You're going to find the file and click restore. Super easy. OneDrive online, you can either just open a browser and do onedrive.com, or you can go to your SharePoint and open your OneDrive, which is what I'm going to do when we get into the live demo. So let's go look at that. I wanted to open on my other screen. So I had it open right into my OneDrive, but I'm gonna do it from the beginning. So if you open SharePoint, this little, it's called a waffle because in IT we talk a lot about food. So it's called a waffle. I call it a 9 box. You'll hear it interchanged as those two things. But when you open that up, when you're logged in to the browser, it knows who you are. And so this is your OneDrive. This belongs to you. OneDrive is for the one single person, and SharePoint is for all the people, right? So now you're drilling down into your OneDrive, and there's a little trash can here on the side. This is your recycle bin. So when you click on that, you can see everything that's in the recycle bin. So you can just find your file you want to restore, click on the three dots, and hit restore. It's going to go right back to where it came from. Super, super easy. Again, what makes it easy is having this shortcut on your favorites and knowing that this little 9 bar down here belongs to you. Everything in that 9 box and that waffle is yours and information that belongs to you. What do you
I love
think?
that. I think that was a really good distinction to point out that OneDrive is for individual users and SharePoint is shared. Yeah,
Yes.
that's good to note.
Yes. These OneDrive are files that are just mine. If I choose to save it with you, or share it with you, I can.
Yeah.
I can copy a link and I can say share this with Faith. But if Faith is getting a little nosy or making too many changes on my file, I can take away those privileges as an
Mm.
individual, and Faith no longer has access to it, or I can change her access from, edit to read only. Stop
Mhm.
messing with my stuff, Faith.
Important to note.
So I would never do that to you. You have access to everything. So here's something important. We need to keep work moving, right? Not often, but sometimes systems are going to go down. And you need to still be able to do a job without access to the internet or without access to SharePoint. So for me, that main scenario usually comes into play if I'm headed to the airport to get on a plane to go to a conference. And I have projects and things that I need to be working on in the background that I know I can do while I'm in transit. Some people might be fortunate enough to have a driver. If you're hopping in that Uber and it's going to be a long ride, you can work while you're, you know, running from place to place. But the first thing you want to think about is, can I sync those files locally? If your team has OneDrive set up to sync the files locally to their computer, you can still access those files while you're on the move. And even if the internet is down, you can still get to those. If something were to happen and you were at the office and the internet went down or you have no access, you need to have some sort of temporary workflow in place. This step and the communication step are something that are definite items that you want to think about in advance. And you want to start working on those as kind of a business continuance plan. Works back into something we probably talked about 6 months ago, is if everything goes down, what can you do to get up and moving immediately and to keep business moving forward while the root cause issue is being handled in the background? So know in advance where people should save files if the network is unavailable. You do have things that are local. How are you going to save them and make sure that you can communicate during that time? And then, of course, communication, 100%. Again, underrated, probably should be at the top of this list because communication in every widespread event is a very important item. You need to make sure that communication with your team is always clear and concise. Here's what's happening. Here's what we're doing. We'll give you an update every 2 to 4 hours, whatever that is. And you want to make sure that people aren't doing duplicate work. You want to prevent the confusion and keep people from overlapping in this process.
I just had one quick question. So when you
Uh-huh.
mention the locally synced files on OneDrive, is that different than if it gives you an option, save locally to your computer? Is that what you're referring to when it comes to that, or is that different?
It is different, but it's a very nuanced difference. So if you
Okay.
save files locally to your computer, you can always work on those because the local means it is your local device, your local computer. And, let's say if you have a local printer, that means you have a printer on your desk, you have your computer on your desk, they're directly connected, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to
Yeah.
go out and search for it, what have you. Same thing with the local files. OneDrive sync to your computer is it's really, you have your cloud, you have your computer, and everything is constantly being synced, and you have a copy of the cloud on your computer.
Okay. Okay.
That will use up a lot of your space and your memory on your computer. So I'd be very selective about that.
Yeah.
I prefer the leaving everything in OneDrive and just bringing down the things. If I'm going to be traveling, I prefer to save local files than to do
I see.
the local sync, because it will eat up all of your processing space. And when it starts filling that up, everything slows down.
Yeah.
So
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I wondered if there was a difference.
yeah. And there's a way, we might look at that here in a little bit, to check files out.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you can actually check a file out of a SharePoint folder. And when you do that, it's on your desktop, or you own it for the period that you're working on it. But it's just like checking out a book out of a library. Nobody else can make changes to it while you have it checked out. So you
Mhm.
have to give it back at some point so that other people
Yeah.
you share it with can still have it. That's better than actually downloading it to your device, because if you download it to your device, you make changes, somebody else is making changes in the cloud, and then you upload it. Now you've overwritten somebody else's version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. That's
good
good to
question.
know. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I like it when you ask these things. It makes me feel like I'm actually accomplishing something. So, all right, the struggle. The struggle is real with most businesses because they haven't prepared for that downtime. We were just talking about, let's start talking about what you're going to do before it happens and before the issues happen. And again, these don't seem like super major issues, because it's like my entire network isn't down. My entire company isn't down, but this is a down issue just for me individually. But it is a thing that you have to prepare for. And I'm going to tell you a story to help you understand why I feel like you need to prepare and why I use some vernacular that I use in everything I do. So, when I was in college, I lived in the dorms, and the tornado sirens went off one night. My roommate was from Massachusetts, and she absolutely froze, had no idea what to do. So at 18 years old, I did not hesitate. I told her, throw on your sweats and sneakers. We're going to the first floor now. And the whole way down the stairs, she's asking me, why do I need my shoes? How do you know all of this stuff? I mean, she's peppering me with questions and acted like I had some sort of superpower, whatever. But obviously, if all of us from Oklahoma, we know that's not a superpower. That's just what we grew up with. I had prepared for this my whole life. I have seen the aftermath of real tornadoes, and honestly, I have very tender feet and was not about to walk through any broken glass in my bare feet if I had to go look for other places of safety after a real occurrence of an event. So the reason I tell you that story is because I always tell everybody, have a tornado drill. Work through, what am I going to do if I can't get to my files? I've been told how to do this. I need to practice how to do this. It's exactly what happens to business data when something goes wrong, because people who haven't prepared, they freeze, they panic, they don't know what to do. They waste time trying to figure out what they should have known before the tornado sirens went off. So for me, I'm always saying this, and people hear me say it again. It's either, put on your seatbelt, or what's your tornado drill? Those are my things that always say, okay, I have to ask this question. That's the put on your seatbelt thing, because I have to make sure everybody is prepared for what we're about to go into. Or tornado drill means, have you walked through this before? You don't have to be that unprepared person. Becoming prepared is very simple. So I have a challenge for you. Pick one of these three things. Before you go to bed tonight, you need to do one of these things and actually walk through it and build the muscle memory that goes along with it. You're either going to go to your OneDrive recycle bin, look what's there, open a Word or Excel file, check the version history, poke around, start building that muscle memory, because you may not 100% remember this presentation when something happens to you, but inevitably, these are things that happen to everybody on the regular basis. It only takes about 5 minutes, and then that is going to help you and jog your memory when you do have to jump into action at some point. Obviously, confidence doesn't come from hoping things will be fine. It comes from knowing. And because you've already gone through the actions, you know that you can do it. So you will have a little bit more calm in your demeanor when you have to deal with it in the future. You don't have to be that roommate that I had back then, who was standing there in her pajamas, just wondering what was going on. You can be the one who's calm and already moving, already safe, knowing exactly what to do because you have chosen to be ready ahead of time. So we're not here just to help you fix things when they break. We help you build the processes so things break less often. Or if they do, your team knows exactly what to do. And recovery shouldn't feel like guesswork. You should have a plan for that. So definitely reach out to us. We are happy to help you put something together for a plan, how to take care of issues if they are going to happen. You can reach out directly to Mark, our CEO. You can reach out to me. Either one of us would be happy to have a conversation with you to make sure that everything is ready to go. If it turns into a project, we'll talk about it beforehand. We would love to help you guys out. So thank you so much for joining us today. We always appreciate all of our customers who join us, all of our friends who forward this to their coworkers and other friends. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can. We'll definitely be sending out a replay of this presentation. Nomerel.com has all of our information if you need anything.
Thank you, guys. Anyone has any questions, you can let us know. If not, we will send out the replay in a few days. Thank you all.